Hello, and welcome to Learning Music with Pat. You know, I've shown you a lot of instruments. One of my goals in this class is to show you the instruments that I have, because I really have an extensive collection. And I've showed you instruments that come from overseas, and I've showed you the Indian instruments and the Moroccan instruments and translucent instruments that you can pretty much see through, although not completely. And we've done the sasutos, and we've done the penny whistles and various kinds of recorders and ocarinas, the sasutos, you know, various instruments. And I've shown them to you in groups because I want you to see how extensive instruments can be, how extensive a music collection can be. So today I decided I'm going to bring you instruments in color, because every time I talk about instruments, and as somebody comments to me about how they love to see instruments that are colorful, and so therefore these instruments that I'm showing you today aren't unusual, although a lot of people don't have them. They're not necessarily the best. Some play well, some don't, but the one thing they have in common is the fact that they have unusual colorings. Now when you get to the major instruments like saxophones, clarinets, you know, oboes, bassoons, and flutes, the colors are pretty standard. You're not going to get much change in them. There are gold flutes. You don't see them very often. Most of them are silver plated. And saxophones are usually gold, although you can see them in silver. And so there are some changes there, but there's not a lot of variety in different colors of instruments for the main instruments. But when you get to the melody flutes, and I'm classing the melody flutes as recorder or recorder-like, recorders, sasutos, penny whistles, and I have a group of others that I'm going to show you this morning, most of them that I don't normally bring in, but I just want you to see them. So I've kind of divided them out into what they are, and I want to show them to you, and the basis of showing them to you is that I want you to see the colors, because I want you to see the variety of instruments that are available. So I'll start off with the regular recorders, and of course you see this frequently, or one like this. It's a C melody. This one is a Yamaha. I use a lot of Yamaha instruments. They're very, very good. There's absolutely no complaint about any Yamaha, and they make more than recorders. I have students that use Yamaha. They play flutes and different instruments, and Yamaha makes them. And I've never had a student that's ever had a problem with the Yamaha. So kudos to them. They're very good. And this is a little LMI. The LMI is a dark brown. I do have a regular black recorder. For some reason it didn't seem to make it this morning, but at any rate, this is a brown one. They're not quite as good as some of the others. They're very inexpensive. They're student-made instruments, and they do play, and they play pretty well. The only thing you've got to remember is that they tend to be a little bit on the flat side, so you have to push the air to them in order to play them. But a lot of students have them, and they do well with them. It sounds just like any recorder. The quality of the tone's a little bit different than a regular recorder, but it actually has a very nice tone, so I don't worry about that at all. I have two first notes, and this is a first note, and it's blue. And you know, blue's not my favorite color, but I really do like this. And it's not a professional instrument. It is not considered to be a toy. If you buy a first note, it'll say on the package, it's a recorder, it's not a toy. And I agree, it's certainly one step above being a toy. I can play anything on it. Now I have three of these. This is in blue. I have a red one. They play exactly alike. play octaves well. They change keys well. And so if you have a first note, it probably won't cost you more than about $7, but it can play very, very well. It can't match what a Yamaha can do on the octaves, but it does play very well. It's a first note. Now, I have a group of here called magic flutes. I have 4 of them. So I'm going to show you all of them. Well, actually 3 of them. There's 2 that are pretty much alike here. So I have 3 of them. Here is the red one. It's put out by first note. This is why I brought it in. They are cylindrical. There's no bell. They don't have any tone hole in the back. So technically speaking, they're not recorders, but they are recorder-like, so I'm calling them a melody flute. They have the Fipple mouthpieces, like a regular recorder does, and you play them the same kind of way. This one doesn't do too well. Not too great, but they put out by first note. Now, I do have one that actually does fairly well. The others, you can kind of forget about them. This one's not too bad, but it certainly isn't as good as a regular recorder. But it's put out by first note, called a magic flute. That's the purple one. I have a yellow one. I imagine it plays the same. Actually, this one, if you handle it right, if you kind of work with it, you can coax it into playing almost as good as a recorder can play. Not quite as good as the first note recorder, and certainly not as good as the Yamahas, but it does play. Now, some of them, I guess it's just how fortunate you are and how lucky you are when you buy one, whether you get one that really works well or not. This one works very well. The purples, not so much. Now, I have these 2 made by the same company. This is kind of aqua and pink. And I have a green and orange one just like it. You know, they're put out by the same company. It is a regular recorder. You cannot pull it apart. Some of these melody instruments are made to look like recorders. The problem is they don't, and they play somewhat like recorders, but you're not going to be able to pull them apart, which means that cleaning is not a possibility, except since it's a tube on the bottom, you can sometimes take a little cloth or a little brush and stick it up, but don't try to pull it apart, because you would ruin it if you did. I'm going to try it. I can't guarantee what it will do. That's as well as it does. Now, not too great, right? But it does make some sounds. I would think, and this is just a personal idea of mine, that if a company is going to produce a toy and call it a musical instrument, wouldn't you think they'd want it to play? Because what's the sense of buying a toy instrument if it doesn't play? You know, parents make this mistake too. It's a different kind of mistake, but there's a similarity of what I'm talking about here. A parent will say, my child wants to play trumpet. So what do? They get the cheapest trumpet they can get, because of the fact the child might not stay with it, the child may not want to continue, the child may end up by not taking care of the instrument. Why spend a lot of money if you're not sure? And I understand that. If I had a child, I'd be tempted to think the same thing. But the problem is, If a child gets an instrument and it's not very good and it's hard to play, they get discouraged and they don't want to continue. You want to get them something that's in pitch, that plays easily enough that if they are interested, it will cause them to have more interest to continue, not one that they want to drop because it's so hard to play they don't think it's worth the practicing. But these instruments are inexpensive and sometimes they don't play very well. Well, the company that makes this, and the company's not listed on it, there's no company name on it at all, makes one like it, and this is the orange and green one. And I really like the colors of this. I'm going to try it. Probably you'll have the same result as the first one did. Well, the lowest one doesn't play, but it does play better. Way out of pitch on the last one, but it does really play better than the pink one, but I'm sure they're made by the same company. Now I have a group of instruments here that are called melodies, and I've got them in different colors, and this one is a Dixie. This is the only Dixie I think that I've got. So let me try it. It's a melody flute. It's conical. It's cylindrical. It plays on the same basis as the recorders play. It's pink, and I bought it. It's kind of like a toy. I like the looks of it, so I decided I'll buy it. It's not bad. It probably cost me about $1.98, and it's a Dixie. Now the others I have here are called Melody. That's the brand name. This is the orange one, and I don't know how well it plays, but it's like the Dixie. There's a group of them. There's a big group of companies that make these little ones. And can you play them? Well, usually you can play some. On this, it has on the back, it doesn't have a tone hole, but it has a place for you to put your thumbs. So you know where to put your thumbs, and then it goes like this. Now, all of these cheaper instruments get sharp on the lower notes. They don't hold a pitch. Lower notes are really, really sharp. This is the orange one. This is the green one. They're made by it's all Melody. The octaves don't match at all, but it does play some octaves. But I like the color very much. You know, children are attracted by color. This one here is the kind of a plum purple color. Wouldn't you think that a company that makes an instrument like this would have engineers? And it has to be designed by somebody. Wouldn't you think that when they design them, they might make a few and then try them and see if they actually work? Instead of, it makes a sound, so therefore we'll sell it. We won't sell it for much, but kids don't care. Well, I think kids are more attracted to instruments that work than instruments that don't. Nonetheless, it is a melody flute. You would not be able to teach anybody on it, but it does play a few notes. It's basically a toy. And then we have this, well, I have two orange ones here. Well, let me try this one. I have actually bought keyboards, And with the keyboards, I've actually tried them out in the store, and the salespeople look at me like I'm crazy. But a lot of times I'll bring a little recorder. I can pitch to it. My recorders, the good ones, are perfect pitch. And I can play on something and I can see whether it's in pitch with my instrument or not. I know that one of my friends bought a keyboard and she was so happy. It was a full size, you know, it's a regular keyboard. You put it in your lap, but it's pretty good size, regular size keys. And she said, Pat, this is so exciting. We can play together, because I had a Casio somewhat like it. And every note, I won't mention the store she got it at, every note was a half pitch off. A half pitch off. And that makes a big difference if you're playing it. You can't play in the same key that everybody else is playing it, because you're a pitch off one way or the other. So she had to transpose everything and just kind of fake it and play it by ear. And I says, why can't we play together? And I checked my instrument. My instrument was a Casio. Casios are great instruments and they're always in pitch. But she bought this keyboard at a big box store and it looked wonderful. And it played very well, and it was pitched with itself. It wasn't in pitch with anybody else. Okay, now these two are made from the same company. I don't know how well they play. I'm going to play them separately. One is orange, one is yellow. There's no marking as to where it comes from, but it may be worth a shot. It won't do an octave. See what happens? It's not the right note. The lower note is a half a step too sharp. When you get a toy instrument or something that's not very expensive, it would be nice if you could at least try it out and see how in pitch it is. This does play fairly well, but it's not in pitch. So the yellow one, this is a beautiful looking instrument. The color is just wonderful. A half a step sharp on what should be the C. So there are a few notes that are pretty good and some not. This little guy, these two come from the same company. And there's no company name on them, but I got them together, the green and the yellow. And I'll play them separately. They're melody instruments. You know, you can get really good ones, but these may not be so good. You start losing it on the second octave. And this one, I imagine, is going to be about the same. Not so bad on the high notes as the others are, but definitely not in pitch. These two I brought in before, and they don't play well. They have little characters. This is Dora, I think it's Dora the Explorer on this one, and I'm not sure who this character is, probably from the same strip. I'll try them, but I don't think we're going to get much out of them. Whoops. Not too great. I do have a couple I want to show you that aren't bad at all. This one, let's see. This one here, wait a minute. Oh, I'm going to skip this one right here. I use this one quite a bit because I take it apart to show the various the various parts of the instrument. It can pull apart and put together quite well. And I bought this a while back just for that purpose. And it's not too bad. I'm interested in showing you the Pro Piper. Now the Pro Piper is orange. It looks like some of the melody instruments. I only paid $2 for it, and it's well worth it. It plays well. It plays in the key of E flat. Less than $2, and it does really well. I have used this with orchestras and played this in orchestras if I wanted a softer pitch than what my E-flat penny whistles can give me. So the whole thing here, and we're kind of running out of time, is I want to show you the great variety of instruments that exist. Some of them good, some of them not so good, but there's a great variety of colors and instruments, a great variety of instruments to choose from if you have a child that's interested in playing, and especially among the melody instruments, which are like recorders or recorder-like instruments, because there's just a lot that's available. And you take your choice and you play whatever you want, of course. But if you get a good quality recorder, that's a wonderful stepping off place to play, because something like a Yamaha, and I'm not telling you what to buy or what not to buy, but something that's good quality acts as a springboard for a lot of other instruments. And these are not toys. These are regular instruments that can be played in orchestras and bands. I arrange music to them. I've played parts of Handel's Messiah with them. They're very, very accomplished instruments. And so I just wanted to show you some of the variety of what I have in addition to what I've already showed you. So we'll close it here. We'll be doing something else next time. Please join me next time.